When Reign aired its series finale on the CW, it answered the question of what happened to characters like Kenna, Caitlin Stacey, who didn't remain in Queen Mary's, Adelaide Kane, life. The most popular CW series have become known for their science fiction and fantasy stories, particularly the Arrowverse and staple series Supernatural. The network, however, has dabbled in the genre of historical fiction in the past with dramas like Reign. Inspired by the life of Mary, Queen of Scots, the series combined real moments in history with soap opera-like fiction to create a compelling tale of Mary's life in France to Mary Frances, Toby Regbo, and rise to power. Though Reign centered on the life of Queen Mary, there were a lot of characters important to her story unfolding in the series. The story might not have been entirely accurate for history buffs, but the depth of the characters meant fans wanted to see just where each of them ended up. The network opted not to renew the series for a fifth season while the cast and crew were hard at work on the fourth. That resulted in some characters having their fates seen on screen, while others were left up to the imagination of the audience. Kenna actually leaves the series as the second season draws to a close. Initially one of Mary's ladies-in-waiting, she becomes mistress to the King of France, and then marries his illegitimate son. When their relationship falls apart, she has an affair with General Renaud. It's that affair that leads to her leaving France altogether when she realizes she's pregnant. On her way through Sweden, Kenna meets a teenage prince and strikes up a conversation with him, agreeing to exchange letters with him and asking to visit after she helps with her sister's baby. The implication is that Kenna finds herself another royal to help her secure her position in society, something Kenna struggles to do from the start. In a world where a woman's place is determined by her relationship with her father or her husband, the ladies of Reign frequently end up stuck. While what happens to Kenna in Reign is largely left open-ended, viewers can hope for the best for her. Henry, played by Alan Van Sprang. King Henry II only appears steadily as a main character in the first season of the series, and largely as an antagonistic force. After that, he only appears in visions, dreams, and flashbacks. Despite that, Henry makes a lasting impression on the show. He's the one who spurs many of the relationships into motion thanks to his need to be in control of everyone in the castle. In his final days, he's not in his right mind thanks to his own Bible having poison in its pages. That's not what kills him though. Instead, it's his own son, Francis, who kills him during a jousting match, though he does it in secret so no one finds out he decided to save the inhabitants of the castle and the rest of the kingdom from Henry's wrath. Narcisse, played by Craig Parker. Considering his prime role as an antagonist, and then as Lady Lola's husband, Narcisse gets a rather abrupt ending on the series. In fact, the audience doesn't really get to know just what happens to him in the end, which is surprising since he has such a large presence in the series once he and Lola become close. The last significant time the audience spends with Narcisse involves him, a witch, and Catherine de' Medici sharing a bed. That's because the witch in question, Emmanuelle, wants to spend the night with the most powerful people she knows in order to give herself a very powerful child. It's a strange way to close out Narcisse's story since his ending has no real bearing on his connection to Mary or the monarchy. It's very likely that this particular event wouldn't have been the end of his character and that spending the night with a witch and the Queen Regent would have had implications for his character in a potential Season 5. Charles, played by Spencer McPherson. Charles becomes the King of France after the death of Francis, though it's not a role he's really ready to take on. He spent most of his early appearances in the show trying to get out of his lessons and ignoring his brother's advice, so he isn't nearly as prepared to rule as his older brother was. Though Catherine fights very hard to keep her son on the throne, Charles doesn't appreciate it. In the end, he and his brother Henri even completely ignore Catherine when she tries to explain why their plans to put France in motion against Spain won't work. Catherine leaves Charles to rule France on his own, something that Emmanuelle tells her won't work out in his favor as he isn't destined to be king for long. If the show had been able to continue, the audience likely would have seen just how badly the consequences of Charles's plans played out and would have seen his younger brother take over the throne.